Hi, I'm Jean Shafiroff, and I'm on a mission. Anyone can be a philanthropist. My television show came from my book, Successful Philanthropy: How to Make a Life by What You Give. Won't you join me? Welcome to Successful Philanthropy. I'm your host, Jean Shafiroff, and this show is designed to highlight the work of philanthropic leaders here in the United States and then beyond. Today with us, Flo Anthony. Flo is a celebrity journalist, author, radio host, and also an acting philanthropist. Let's all welcome Flo Anthony. And Flo, it's so great to have you on the show.
Thank you so much, Jean. I'm just so happy and honored to be here.
Yes, now, Flo, before we talk about philanthropy, we're going to talk about what's going on in the world of celebrities right now. There's been so much happening with the recent news of J-Lo and A-Rod. They were split. Now I think they've come back together. What's happening there exactly?
Yeah, everybody's pretty busy ever since the story recently broke. They have released a statement together, however. It says all the reports are inaccurate. We are working through some things. And another source told People magazine they never officially broke up and talked about it, but are still together. They hit a rough patch, but were not broken up. So there you have it. Now, also, the rumor was that they broke up because of this girl that's on a reality show, Southern Charm. Her name is Madison LaCroix. Now, sources say that Alex has never even met this Madison LaCroix of Southern Charm, even though she claimed that she and Alex spoke on the phone, but she also said they never met.
Very interesting and funny how stories seem to keep growing and multiplying, and a rumor starts and then all of a sudden the world hears something and it's not even true. It's pretty amazing to me.
And I wasn't surprised, though, when I heard recently that they may have broken up, because, I've been covering them a very long time, and neither of them are people that stay in relationships. I mean, she's been married 3 times. She was with Sean Diddy Combs for a long time. I mean, she just left her husband, Chris Judd, for Ben Affleck. Then all of a sudden she was with a dancer. Then from the dancer, well, actually, she married Mark Anthony before she got with the dancer. And he, of course, his wife was very upset that there were rumors of him dating Madonna. So Madonna actually broke up Alice Rodriguez's marriage. And I kind of knew him. I had a friend, Royce Clayton, played with him at the Texas Rangers. And so he's always kind of been a player. Prior to marrying his wife, Cynthia, he was like a big playboy all over the country. So.
Yes, well, I think once you're in the public eye in a very big way, it puts a strain on relationships.
Yes, it does.
Speaking of relationships, let's talk a little bit about Meghan and Harry. And the recent interview really received worldwide attention. Oprah really delved deep. And what did you think about what happened in that interview, Flo Anthony?
Well, I have to give it to Oprah Winfrey. She really knocked it out the ballpark this time with this bombshell interview with Prince Harry and Meghan Markle. I wasn't surprised at anything that they said, Jean, because from the beginning, as you know, I've been a champion of Meghan Markle. I think the world of her, and I think that she's such an inspiration to young women of color that you could marry the Prince of Wales. Right there, it puts her in a league all of her own. But I saw from the beginning the way the British press was going after her. I mean, they called the baby a monkey. They said did cartoons about her. So I was not surprised at all, because they really brought racism out. And it was kind of strange, because you really don't know foreigners to be racist, because their legacy is not slavery. They have not enslaved people as the United States did. So normally they are not racist, but they went after this girl something terrible. And I wasn't surprised at any of it. I wasn't surprised about the mental health problems, because I once even saw her interviewed, and the reporter asked her, "How are you?" And she said, "That's so very nice," because no one ever asked how I am doing. And I wasn't surprised about the suicide, because you get to a point, what are you going to do? You just don't know what to do. So when Prince Harry said that he saw history repeating itself with what the media did to his own mother, he knew it was time to leave.
Yes, well, Meghan, I remember when they got married, I believe the royal family spent about $32 million on the wedding. The number might even be higher, and they welcomed her into the family. And she was the subject of a lot of criticism in England. And I think, I'm not really sure why, you know more than I do about that. And when we heard about her suicidal thoughts and then the race comment that was made somewhere, it was very sad to hear. And what I do like so much about the interview is that issues were brought up that always need to be brought up, and so important, mental health issues. And
Well, Prince Harry said himself, well, first Meghan brought it up, that they were concerned, someone in the royal family. Prince Harry made it clear to Oprah afterwards, though, that it was not his grandfather, Prince Philip, nor his grandmother, Queen Elizabeth, but someone in the family was concerned as to how dark little Archie's skin might be. That didn't shock me at all, because that colorism even happens in Black America. People, this whole light skin and dark skin thing is something horrible. I mean, Spike Lee did a whole movie on it, School Days, based on the dark and the light and this and the that. So that even exists right within our own Black community. And it's a horrible thing. So that didn't surprise me. Nothing they said surprised me at all. I always felt most of that was going on.
now let's talk about Kim and Kanye, the most recent divorce. What's that all about right now? I thought they were a lovely couple. Again, when you're in the public eye and you have such a high platform, I think it puts a big strain on a relationship.
I never thought Kim Kardashian and Kanye West were a lovely couple. He hasn't looked happy since he married her. The man never smiles, and he used to be a pretty good kid. I've been around him in his presence often. A lot of his life changed, though, when his mother died. I think a sadness came along then. But the whole time he's been married to Kim Kardashian, he has not smiled. And Jean, they have not lived together in 2 years. He's mainly been in Wyoming. He established that ranch with the recording studio and everything there. And she's been back in Los Angeles with the children. And now it has gotten so bad that while this divorce is ongoing, because right now they're negotiating money, they're negotiating custody of the children, they're no longer speaking to each other. Kanye made it very clear to her the only way he's going to talk to Kim Kardashian is through his security and through attorneys. So that ended up probably very, very ugly, but I thought it was ugly the whole time. I never thought it was any great, we're so in love with you marriage going on there.
Well, I've always liked the two of them, and the truth is that divorce is a tough thing, and who always suffers? It's the children. So I hope
Yes.
that through
And
all
it's
of this,
our 4 children involved, 4 very beautiful children. So in that aspect, it is a sad situation.
sad situation, but I have a feeling that both of them will be very involved in the rearing of the children.
Yeah, and she'll go on to her 4th marriage, so whatever.
I don't know. I can't say. And then finally,
We're already working on it.
Right, but we haven't spoken about Jay-Z and Beyoncé, and I know you're up to date on everything, Flo. So can you tell us a little bit about what's happening? They are really huge icons, and everyone we're speaking about is involved in philanthropy. And we're not going to go into their philanthropy.
Yes, because their philanthropy is incredible. The things that Jay-Z and Beyoncé do. I mean, she's built a housing development. He gives scholarships. He's with the prison reform. Their philanthropy is incredible. But in the past few weeks, they've made big business moves that are monumental in Black America. First of all, she has a new clothing line out called Icy Park with her deal with Adidas. It's sold out immediately. And Beyoncé sent portable closets filled with these clothes to several celebrities, including Missy Elliott. Monique was one of them, Kerry Washington. The list is endless. And Jay-Z, in the last few weeks, made $600 million in 1 week. He sold 50% of his Armand de Brignac Ace of Spades champagne to Moet Hennessy for $300 million. And a few days later, he turned around and sold half of 50% of that. He turned around and sold his entire Tidal streaming service to Jack Dorsey, who owns the CEO of Square and Twitter, for $293 million. So that is a $600 million week. It was just incredible. And Jack Dorsey and Jay-Z, I remember I even mentioned to you, they were hanging around the Hamptons all the summer 2020 in the middle of the pandemic together, seen on a yacht, walking around. So now we know what they were up to.
Yes, and I was actually bumped from my studio one week because Beyoncé was borrowing or using, or I'm sure she rented out the studio, but I didn't mind. It was Beyoncé, Queen Bee. That's fine with me. And
the commercial she made was for Adidas, for that Ivy Park Adidas deal. Mm-hmm.
Interesting. And let's talk now a little bit about celebrity philanthropy. And when a celebrity has such an enormous platform, they're in a natural position to give a concert or do something for philanthropy. And many celebrities do. And can you talk a little bit about some of the celebrities who've done some really great things for philanthropy?
Well, in the last week, we had they had the horrible ice storm down in Texas. Now, Travis Scott, he's a rapper and producer. He is the father of Kylie Jenner's daughter, Stormy. I think, gosh, it was something like, I can't get the exact number, but he gave food, clothing. I did some housing. He's from Houston, Texas, and he did all of that. Beyoncé, of course, Houston, Texas is her hometown. She did the same thing. Jamie Foxx is from Texas, Houston, Texas also. He did the same thing. So just to help everybody there, because those people didn't have anything. I spoke to a friend of mine in Dallas. His lights came back on. So he said he would have people come over and fix breakfast for everyone at least, because most people didn't have the lights. He went to the grocery store and there was no food on the shelves. He couldn't even buy any eggs to fix for anyone. That's how bad it was down there in Texas. And all of these celebrities, Matthew McConaughey, because he's also from Texas, they all came together to help everybody.
Yes, and I think when I think of a celebrity who does tremendous amount for philanthropy, I think of Oprah, because Oprah, not only through what her show, and her magazine, she's always promoting somebody, or she promoted somebody through that show. And Oprah herself has a school in South Africa for girls, to train girls to be leaders. And recently I was reading about that, very impressed. But Oprah's always giving somebody something, and she's got the platform, she uses it to promote good, and then she walks the talk, meaning she gives away money and helps many different groups. And I think that's so important. And then out on the eastern end of Long Island, we have many celebrities involved in philanthropy. And celebrity, high net worth individual, or someone who's just starting out in life, getting involved in philanthropy is really key, because all of us have something to offer. And Flo, moving on, I'd like you to talk a little bit about your philanthropy, and what is your favorite charity?
Well, my favorite charity is the New York City Mission Society. I was introduced to them through you, and I've done things to help with getting auction items, getting tables sold, tickets sold, when we could have dinner together every year. You were very kind to underwrite the we didn't call it Thanksgiving dinner, but the harvest dinner for everyone in the Harlem neighborhood to go to Mission and have a huge dinner together. And so I would serve food and help all the people there every year. And one time I happened to be on the bus in Harlem, and it stopped, and the kids got on, and they all had on New York City Mission Day Camp t-shirts. And I was just so proud to see those children. And they were just all so happy. They had been at camp all day. And so what the Mission Society just stands for, helping all of these Black kids up in Harlem and in any underserved child. And they're teaching them the instruments, they're teaching them singing, they're teaching them education. It's just a magnificent organization.
And I can't agree more. I serve on the board of New York City Mission Society. I've been on the board for at least 7 years. And our objective and our mission is to help children in underserved populations, move them forward. We have after school programs, summer programs, and we are open to everyone. And it's a fabulous charity. It's one of the oldest charities in the United States. It was founded over 200 years ago. And Flo, we consider you part of the New York City Mission Society family because you've done so much. You've advocated so much. When we've had our galas, you've been so involved in selling tables and tickets, and then bringing in different personalities.
Yes, I brought in a Kathy Sledge to perform. Remember, that was really great. Mm-hmm.
I remember
Yes,
that, and that
great.
made
that
event that you brought her in, Kathy Sledge. And speaking about you and your life, I understand you have a little romance going on. I've met your fiance, and I'd like you to talk a little bit about him. He's a very special man, Michael Spinks. And
yes, he is. I don't like to call
Michael
fiance or anything, or boyfriend, put any labels on him. We've just together, and we've been together off and on for a very long time, since we were very young. I originally met him actually in the late 70s and worked for him in the early 80s as a publicist. So I've known him for a very, very long time. In fact, he and his former promoter, Butch Lewis, who passed away, were responsible for me getting my first job at the New York Post as the agate clerk in the sports department.
Yeah, so for our audience, we are with Flo Anthony. She is a celebrity journalist, author, and radio host. And she's talking a little bit now about her personal life with Michael Spinks.
He's a 1976 Olympic gold medalist, one gold medal, which was very exciting because his brother, who just passed away a few weeks ago, Leon Spinks, also won a gold medal on the same Olympic team. And that had never happened before in life. I don't really know. I don't think it's ever happened again. And then Michael was the undisputed and undefeated light heavyweight champion of the world, and that's never happened again. And then he went on to be the only sole reigning light heavyweight champion to become heavyweight champion of the world, which was a big upset because he beat Larry Holmes. But then he and Leon became the first brothers ever to be the heavyweight champions of the world, because of course Leon had still the biggest upset in boxing, beating Muhammad Ali after just 7 fights. So he's a very exciting, very nice guy, and I work with him handling different aspects of his business and his scheduling and appearances and things like that. So it's
and Michael Spinks is a very fine man. I have had dinner with him and Flo a number of times, and what always impressed me about Michael was what a gentleman he was, and also his really intense belief in himself and in the power of being able to do things and the help of God that he's received. Now, Flo, let's talk a little bit about you, because I know your background, but how did you get started? I understand your mother was a school teacher and you're a very well-educated woman. Let's talk about your education a little bit.
Well, first of all, both of my parents were school teachers. My mother taught elementary school, and then my father taught special education junior high school. But my father's education is very interesting. He played football at Tougaloo College in Tougaloo, Mississippi, and had 3 years of college. And, you know, back then in the 60s on up into 70s, you could teach school with just 3 years of college. But in Ann Arbor, Michigan, where I grew up, they changed the ruling. And my father, he went back in his early 50s and not just got his bachelor's degree from the University of Michigan, but also his master's degree. And when he died, a very young man at 61 years old, he was writing a dissertation for a doctorate degree. And I come from a totally educated, I'm a Black person in my 60s, but I'm third generation college. My grandmother and my great aunt Winnie were college graduates, and they were both school teachers. And then on my mother's side of the family, My Aunt Eddie Mae, my Aunt Stella, and my school teachers, my Aunt Eddie Mae on the junior college level in the state of Mississippi. In fact, she taught both Medgar and Charles Evers at Alcorn College. And when I was a little kid and they would come on TV, I'd be visiting and she'd go, "Speak, boy, speak like I taught you to speak." It was just something else. And then my Aunt Stella, she taught on the high school English, and my Uncle John Prentice, he was a minister and a principal of a school in Picayune, Mississippi. And, back then you would write letters. And one time he wrote my mother's letter, and it had an article that he was in it. And in the article, it said, and the Ku Klux Klan also used the gymnasium for a meeting. I was like, this was like in the 60s. I was like, the Ku Klux Klan could have a meeting there. And Uncle John Prentice is in the same school. But I guess that was Mississippi. They just accepted something strange was going on like that. But, speaking of racism, Jean, I've encountered it my whole life. Growing up in Mississippi and Ann Arbor, I was born also in the infirmary at Alcorn College in Mississippi, and I would go back summers. And so as a little kid, I experienced the all-colored waiting rooms for the train, the water fountains. You couldn't sit at the counter at Woolworths or Kresge to get a soda or anything. And the Ku Klux Klan actually killed my cousin Margie. She was lynched. And then when I grew up in Ann Arbor, Michigan, I was still the brunt of a lot of racism, a lot of things. Just like I integrated 3 different departments of the New York Post, I also integrated things growing up at home in Ann Arbor. I was the first Black cheerleader at Ann Arbor Huron High School. I was the first Black kid to be in the Ann Arbor Junior Theater. And I also was the first Black kid to be in Ann Arbor Civic Ballet. And I wasn't trying to integrate anything. I just wanted to be in these activities. And, but I did encounter a lot of, first Black kid in the Girl Scouts. I did encounter a lot of resistance in doing all of this, growing up, being born in the 50s and growing up 60s and 70s, being in elementary, junior high, and then high school.
And racism is a terrible, terrible thing. And I'm sorry that you had to grow up in such a tough situation, Flo, all not good. And Flo, you went to Howard University, correct?
Yes.
And
yes,
what advice would you give to young people watching this show today so that they can move forward? And what's the most important thing that a young person needs to do right now to move out of a situation maybe they're not happy in and to have a career?
The most important thing that a young person can do, and I'll wrap it up fast, is to get a college education. Look at Kamala Harris. She also is a graduate of Howard University. You have to have an education to get any type of job. Now, to get a job at Burger King, you need a high school diploma. So for all young Black people, I want them to get a formal education, because that's the only way you're going to make it in life. And you could do it. If your parents don't have the money, you could try to get a scholarship, you could get a loan, or you could get a part-time job and work. Because work ethic is very important. And that's where these days we're lacking with our young people in Black America. In my opinion, we're failing them, because you've got to teach people to have a work ethic, and that the education is key to a good life.
Well, we're just about ending, but Flo, I agree with you. And I think that education is important for everyone. Now, of course, if you're in high school and you're finding that maybe college isn't for you, maybe it's a little too difficult, then you can think about a trade school, but think about having some sort of training for a future career. And this whole pandemic's been so difficult, especially, well, on everybody, but on young people. And so I say to young people, believe in yourself, do what you can. Remember, a good education will open doors. And hopefully we're going to get through this pandemic sooner than later. I think we're going to see a whole different world in 2022. And Flo, getting back to your favorite charity, New York City Mission Society, can you give the audience the website and how they can get involved?
Missionsociety.org is the website. Once again, missionsociety.org. And there are many, many volunteer opportunities.
Well, that's wonderful. And Mission Society is one of my favorite charities as well because of the work they do. This concludes Successful Philanthropy. Today with us, Flo Anthony, celebrity journalist, author, and radio host. I'm your host, Jean Shafiroff, and I'll see you next week.